Welcome to the sixth session for the series tutorials for page object model using Selenium WebDriver and Java. Today in this session, we are going to see how can we handle components. What are these components and how can we handle them? Okay. So let's get started. So let's take the same example like this is sourcedemo.com application only. What we'll do basically, we'll actually provide the valid credential inside these text boxes and we perform the click operation on this login button. So what are these components? So basically components are something, these are the web elements only, okay, but they are not very specific to any web page, okay. They can be present on one page or more than one pages as well. For example, you see in this website we have something called this header, right? In this header we have this swag labs, we have a footer as well, okay. So in this footer we have these three icons, one for Twitter, one Facebook, and then LinkedIn, and this message. Now this is something which we are calling as a home page, right? Now for example, if you go click on this add to cart and to go to the cart page, you see we still have this header present here, we still have these options here, okay, and we still have this footer here. If we go into the cart, from the cart page, if we navigate to the checkout page, still you have this header and footer. So these are the elements which we actually need to define as a component in our project. When we are working for UI automation, you're not going to create the objects for these headers and footer components every time in the pages like cart page, checkout page, okay. There should be some place where exactly you will store them and you will call them whenever they are required, okay. So let me just jump to the IntelliJ part. And let me just copy this test case only, the previous one. In the last session we saw like what prevent interface is, right? So this is basically the components. We need to make sure that we refer to the same only, correct one. So just making a copy of this 6 components. Okay. So let me just do the import for this login page. Import class 6.1 and this one. Okay. So let's do one thing. Maybe what we can do, we can actually take the example from this header, okay, and we'll just make sure that this header is actually present on after the successful login. Okay. So these were the two pages which we created, right, in the last session. Like we have this login page where we have defined the web elements related to the login page, the two text boxes, username and password, and the button login. And then we have defined the operations, like what all operations we want to perform on these web elements. Like I want to fill some information inside the username text box, then to password, then I want to click on the login button, okay. Now when I say these components are like component, like this header and footer, whatever web elements are present here. Now if I say about footer, so these are the icons, right? These are the links basically. If you click on any of these, you will be navigated to the LinkedIn page. It's opening in the new tab, okay, and this is the message. So we need to have some place, like we need to store these locators somewhere in the project so that we can use them, okay. We should not define every time these web elements in every page, like cart page, then checkout page, okay, no. So let me just create a one more package here and I'm calling it as a components, okay, and let me just rename it as a Java class and application header maybe. So what do we need to do? Like when we work with the page object model, we need to define the elements first of all, okay, and then what are the operations we want to perform with them. So inside the header I have this swag labs, right? So let me just inspect it. This is the dev tool now. Open, we are inside the elements tab. Let me just copy it and write down an XPath for it. Div class app logo. Okay. So this is basically what, this is the heading swag labs. trying to find this swag labs heading with the help of what? Next part, right? Let me just create it as private. Fine. And I just want to make sure that this is present on the web page. So in the test case, I would require this web element. So for that, let me create a method, web element get. I'm trying to get this element, get heading, swag labs, and okay. Now what should I do? I need a driver, right, to find this element. So web driver and driver dot find element, which is the element, this one, and maybe I'm interested in return of this web driver. Okay. But now this web driver is not been initialized, so what we need to do, we need to create the constructor. Create the constructor for this, and there should be a web driver coming from the test class. Just open it. This store. Just a second. This store driver. Store to driver. Okay. Now we are good. Okay. So now, what do we need? We actually need this header, like application header, the swag labs heading, which we want to validate that this is present or not on the web page after the successful login, right? So I need this basically inside one of my test case. So we have this home page, right? So inside the home page only I'm trying to find. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just create one more variable here, that I need a component. So that component itself is a application header. Let me just put the name application header. Okay. And let me create a method to do this app header, get app header, and just return this. So we have just created a getter for this. Okay. And inside the constructor itself, because this constructor will get called when we create the object of this one page. Okay. So let me just initialize this app header, new app header, and driver. Okay. Now when you come to your test case, basically maybe let's put it into the this one. And what we want to do, we want to validate that after performing the login, whether we were able to see that or not, see that header logo or not, right? Let me just execute this test case and make sure that everything is working fine before we implement that part. Okay, we are able to navigate to the application. We fill the credentials, clicked on the login button, and everything is working as per the expectation. Okay. Now the components part. Let me just write it here. Components start. Okay. So where exactly were we supposed to get this element? Inside the home page, right? And we already have an object created for home page. So home page dot. What I need the application header first of all. Now inside this application header, what do I need? The heading for swag labs, right? So this is how you see inside the home page I'm looking for what? I'm looking for the application header, and now inside this application header I'm looking for the heading swag labs. So this is how actually you can handle the components in the page object model when you're working with Selenium WebDriver and Java. Okay. So what was the validation? You were trying to just see that this is present or not, right? So for that, we already have a method provided by the Selenium WebDriver API. That is something called isDisplayed. So basically, it is going to validate that this particular element is present or not. Okay. Let me just re-execute it. Excellent. The test case is working fine. Now, in the same way, see, we took this example from the footer, right? But for that, what we did, we actually created this get message footer inside this home page only. But ideally, where exactly this locator has to be present inside the component level, because this is something which is common to the application level. This is not just limited to the home page. Okay, so now if you want to implement, what you can do, just like the application header we created, you can create the application footer. Okay, inside the application footer you can define your element like there is links and this message. Okay, and when you require those elements inside the home page, so you can just declare the application header, application footer, create the getter for it, and inside this constructor you initialize that with the application footer. And then in the test case itself, what you can do, you can take it as, just a second, you can take it as like home page dot get application footer, and then get heading swag labs, or maybe the message which we have inside this footer, and then you can do validate. Okay, so likewise we can actually handle these components which are common to the application, common across the application. So we should ideally keep this as in the component section, not inside the pages. Okay, so I think that's all for this session. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.